AITA, for yelling at my girlfriend to stop effing eating. My M26 sister, F23, runs a bakery business, and she's been struggling lately to keep up with orders because she's been short-staffed. She does a lot of orders for wedding cakes that require custard or marmalade fillings, and I offered to help her out by making these fillings at home and bringing them to her so she has less work to do. Unfortunately, the past 4 times I've made these fillings, my girlfriend, F24, has literally dipped her fingers into the filling jars and contaminated them because, in her words, she just wanted to try some. I've tried explaining to her that she can't dip her fingers in and contaminate the entire batch, because then I have to remake it. I said she should use a spoon and take some out, if she wants to try so bad, but she just pouts and says that she likes using her fingers because it takes her back to her childhood. Today, I was trying to finish some chocolate custard to send it over to my sister really fast because she was running late on a wedding cake order for an important client. I told my girlfriend beforehand to not eat the custard, and if she really wanted to please use a spoon. I get out of the shower, and what do I see? She has her fingers in it again. I totally lost it because this is the 5th time she blatantly disregarded what I said, and I yelled at her and told her to stop fucking eating the food I'm making because it's not for her and she's contaminating it. She started crying and got mad at me for fat-shaming her, even though I made no comment on her weight and she has no history of weight issues or eating disorders. I know I was harsh, but she kept pushing my limits. AITA? AITA for asking my brother not to bring his boyfriend to my wedding? This is the worst. I'm losing sleep over it. I'm marrying an awesome woman in a week and we're super excited. My brother is gay, but our family doesn't know. Just me and my parents. I come from a very old-school, traditional family, so the old part of the family, grandparents and some aunts, uncles, still have last century's mind, and the younger portion, cousins, siblings, are open-minded and are living in the present. My brother's been dating his BF for 6 months. He's great, and I'm happy for my brother. It's a secret. He hasn't come out to our family. I've urged him to come out for years, as I think it'll relieve his stress. Some family members likely already know. He disagrees, knowing some family won't accept him, leading to drama. I think it's better to identify the idiots sooner so we can cut them out. I won't entertain anyone who doesn't accept my brother's sexuality. That's his call, so for now he won't come out. A few weeks ago, he said he wants to bring his BF to my wedding. I honestly didn't see that coming. He went from 0 to 100 really fast. I'd usually be supportive, but my wedding day isn't the right time for that. Just imagine the drama and gossip that would ensue. I don't want to divert attention from my fiancée. It's her day. I don't want this stress on my wedding day. It's a valid reason. I asked why my wedding. He said he wants to celebrate love with me and his BF. This is killing me. I would fight my whole family for my brother and never speak to them again if I had to. But my wedding day is supposed to be a celebration, not a family fight. And I can't do this to my wife. That might ruin our future. I didn't even tell her. She is already stressed out. Don't want to make it even worse. With a heavy heart, I asked him to please come alone to the wedding, and that I hope he understands me. He started crying and left my house without saying anything. Next day I got a text and he said, "Don't worry going alone." I tried calling him, but he didn't answer me, and my parents don't seem to know what's happening because they didn't say anything. He eventually called me back a few days later. We spoke. He said he understands my side, but things are still weird between us. This is the worst situation of my life. Am I the asshole for handling it the way I did? P.S. 1. I want to thank the redditor that sent me a private message and said they hope a mass shooter shows up at my wedding. So thoughtful. P.S. 2. Thanks for the gold and stuff. Update. Spoke to fiancé. Couldn't keep this from her anymore. She agreed with me. Clarification. I know it won't be my brother that would cause trouble. The trouble would start with remarks and looks from some uncle. Doesn't matter. We are spending a lot of money on this wedding. Planned it for a long time. My fiancée put her heart and soul into planning this wedding. I don't want to see my bride or mom crying or some idiot uncle insulting my brother. Literally every other day of my life, I will support my brother's decision to come out. Even at the wedding, I would obviously defend him. But the point is, not at the wedding. Also, my brother is not the asshole. Not at all. AITA for using flashcards to explain to my brother and his wife why they can't bring their rainbow baby to my wedding. My fiancé, F, and I, M, are getting married. We've decided wedding's gonna be child-free. No hate towards children, just to keep it more organized and contained. My brother Chris, M, and his wife, F, have a 3Y-row son who everyone calls Miracle or Rainbow Baby. He came after several failed pregnancies that lasted for years. When they found out that my nephew was included in the no children rule, they tried to convince me to make an exception for him. Chris told me his son is a miracle baby, and his presence at the wedding will bring blessings for me and my fiancé. I refused and said no, the wedding is child-free. His wife kept sending my fiancé pics of my nephew when he was months old. What that mean? I told them no, and to stop. My brother told me this might cause a rift in our relationship. I again said no and explained that the wedding is child-free. He asked again and pointed out how his baby is different since he's a rainbow, a miracle baby. I again said no and explained that the wedding is child-free. They brought it up when they visited at my home, and I knew they weren't going to stop, so I'd made flashcards in advance with the phrase, "The wedding is child-free, period," and pulled them out and started slowly showing them the flashcards one by one in this order. The wedding, with a sticker of bride and groom, is child, with a sticker of a baby, free, with a sticker of a sign, period, with a huge black dot sticker. They both were stunned. I asked if they get it now, and Chris had lost his shit. His wife had already grabbed her stuff and walked out. Chris called me an asshole for doing this and said that I disrespected him, his wife and their son, who's my one and only nephew. He rushed out after we argued. My fiancé saw the whole thing and thought that it was funny, but my parents and Chris are livid beyond measure. They're telling everyone about the amount of disrespect and mockery I had displayed towards them, and I'm being told to fix it now. AITA for jumping out of a bathroom window to avoid my mom's attempt at forcing a reunion between me and my ex-fiancé. Some backstory. I had been dating my ex-fiancée Sarah for 4 years. We had been planning to get married in November 2020, but I found out at the start of this month that she cheated on me. She begged me to give her another chance, but I broke it off. The problem was that being cheated on is, in my mind, completely emasculating and humiliating. So I never told anyone that was the reason we broke up. For obvious reasons, Sarah also didn't tell people we broke up because she cheated. So people have blamed me for the breakup, including my mom. They just see that I dumped her out of the blue. I've gone very strict no contact with Sarah after I discovered she was cheating on me. Sarah has been talking with my mom and has convinced her that if we could talk one more time, we would be able to reconcile. My mom has been applying hardcore pressure on me to talk with Sarah, but I've explained that there's no chance we will ever get back together. So tonight I go over to my mom's place because she's hosting family for Christmas Eve. I'm there for a bit talking with my aunts and uncles and cousins when the doorbell rings, and I can see it's Sarah. I ask WTF is going on, and my mom says she invited Sarah so we can work this out in the spirit of the holidays. I'm pissed now because the only way to explain my side of the story is to tell everyone I was cheated on. Complete humiliation in front of my whole family. So as my mom goes to the front door, I go into the bathroom. My mom starts knocking on the door saying that I need to come out and talk to my ex like an adult. I say fuck it, kick out the window screen, and get in my car and go home. My mom called a short while ago saying she's cutting ties with me over my behavior. She's really fixated on me jumping out of a window, and that Sarah will always be like a child to her. My sister called me after to ream me out for ruining Christmas. I broke down and told her that Sarah cheated on me, which is why I dumped her, and didn't want to see her under any circumstances. She called me a big asshole who was lying to cover for myself. Am I really in the wrong?
AITA for telling the girl who kissed my boyfriend for a play that she is desperate and pathetic. I 19F study drama at uni, and my boyfriend is on the same course. My boyfriend is a really good-looking guy, but he doesn't seem to know it. He gets a lot of attention from girls and for the most part doesn't seem to get that they're flirting with him. I'm not generally annoyed by this, and never really say anything. However, there's one girl in our class, let's call her Victoria, who is obsessed with my boyfriend. She goes out of her way to be paired with him in group activities. For example, if the professor picks groups by numbering us 1, 2, 3, she will move herself to be in the same number as him, and she recently stepped down from a main role in a play we're doing so she could be in a more minor one, simply because this character has a romance with my boyfriend. I know this is the case because I've heard her say to her friends that she thinks he's hot and whatnot. I've never said anything to her about it because she seems pretty insecure, always complaining about how she thinks she's ugly, and I don't see it as a big deal because my boyfriend doesn't care. However, we recently performed the play and had a small after-party where she got slightly drunk and was bragging about how she definitely felt something when they kissed in the play, and she's going to ask him if he felt the same. I rolled my eyes and again ignored it until she actually went up to my boyfriend. She was a little bit drunk, and when she went up to him, I was there too. Victoria started saying that she knows he must have felt a spark, he's a really good kisser, etc. I snapped and sort of shouted at her that, "You sound incredibly desperate, going after somebody else's boyfriend. You're pathetic if you think a stage kiss means you should be together." She looked super embarrassed and walked away, and I later heard she'd gone home crying. I feel like a dick, because she's obviously insecure and whatnot, and her friends haven't stopped calling me a bitch since. AITA. Edit. She 100% knows that I am his girlfriend. I have heard her talking about me being his girlfriend before.
AITA for not letting my best friend have her wedding on my property after being uninvited. One of my 29 best friends, Carla, 31F, is getting married soon. It's only meant to be a small backyard type of wedding, but they've been planning it for a few months now, and originally it was supposed to be on my property. They wanted it because it's private, has lots of open space for the reception, a nice view, and the house could be used for them to get ready and stuff. Of course I said yes. She and her fiancé, Rick, were very happy. Thing is, Carla and I do have a history. We went out on and off in college, but decided to stay friends. Then I met my wife, we got married, Carla met Rick, and now here they are. Now my wife knows I went out with Carla back in college and she didn't care. Carla still went to our wedding and everything. I never knew if Rick was told or not. It's not my relationship, therefore not my business to say anything, so I never did. Rick found out recently, and not in the best way. Not sure how, but from what I heard from friends, is that one mutual friend told him, no idea why, we used to date. Not only that, but apparently Carla said a couple years ago she was still in love with me when she was already dating Rick. Don't have actual confirmation if that's exactly what he was told. All Carla's told me is that Rick was told about our past, and he's angry at her for never saying anything. It became quite a drama and didn't hear from her for over a month until now. She told me they're going to couples counseling and that the wedding is still on. But Rick requested that I not attend. It sucks, but I totally get why he wouldn't be comfortable. Then I asked the obvious question. Where are they going to hold the wedding then? To my surprise, she said they still want it at our place. Rick said so, too, and in my mind, I'm going, he doesn't want the guy who dated his fiancée years ago at the wedding, but still wants the wedding at his house. My wife and I are expected to just not be at our home that weekend, and I told Carla no. They're going to have to find someplace else since we're not going to simply leave our home to them for the weekend. Not only for safety reasons, but it just doesn't make sense. Rick doesn't want me around because he's not comfortable but is comfortable enough to have their wedding at my house. They really want their wedding here, though, and because of that, I've been bugged by not only her but also Rick and some friends who think I'm being a petty asshole for not letting them have the wedding here anymore. Honestly, don't think that I am. It just doesn't make sense at all to have to leave our own place for a wedding we're no longer welcome to and leaving our home totally vulnerable. Still, being accused of sabotaging their wedding, and Rick believes it's the least I can do after everything. AITA for laughing when my son came home from meeting his girlfriend's parents because he chose to behave like he does at home. My son burps a lot while eating. I have tried telling him multiple times that it is rude. I've told him to slow down so he doesn't swallow air with his food. I've told him that it is disgusting. My wife will instantly jump in to defend him. She will say that's just the way he is, and that it's not his fault. The thing is, he can control himself when I remind him. He just chooses not to. He just went on a date with his girlfriend last night, and she tore him a new asshole. It was his first time meeting her parents since they live in another city. They went out to a fancy restaurant, and he burped all the way through supper. He came home almost in tears from her chewing him out for behaving like a jackass in front of her family. I heard him telling my wife about it, and I laughed. She asked what was so funny, and I reminded them both that I had tried dozens, if not hundreds of times, to teach him table manners, and he rejected them, and she protected him. I said that now he is a grown man, and he had to learn the hard way. They both think she overreacted and that I'm the asshole for being amused by his experience.
I'll stay for how I fought my boyfriend's medical bill. Going too far, my boyfriend had to go to the ER after an accident, and he got a truly ridiculous bill back. I offered to fight the bill for her because I've done it before, and he said sure. I went all out because honestly, if we were out $5,000 after insurance, that would fuck up our holiday plans pretty bad. So I had him call the hospital and authorize me to handle his bill and access his medical records. Got an itemized bill and compared the prices for each code to the fair prices called billing to dispute the bill, but was told that billing only collects bills. I'd need to contact admin to dispute bounced around a call center for hours, trying to get someone who was actually qualified for bill disputes. And getting nowhere, Google and LinkedIn search for the hospital board of directors and upper management got 30 emails of the most influential people at the hospital, plus the hospital's investors every day would send a few emails, working my way up the chain and writing an increasingly long email describing how they billed my client at 7 times over the fair price for services rendered, and how their billing department customer service department, and the growing list of management I'd emailed had failed to address the issue. Escalated the emails until I was writing the director-level staff with the entire board of directors and a number of outside investors CC'd, asking for a written statement regarding their justification for billing at a rate 7 times higher than the national average for commensurate services to what is available at other hospitals, and sternly laying out the failures to appropriately respond at every level of the company. Well, once I'd done all that, which was honestly only like 15 minutes a day, they reduced the bill from $5,000 to $26. Yep, $26 fucking dollars. Well, I told my boyfriend the good news, and he was at first overjoyed and blown away, like literally jumping up and down and hugging me and saying I was literally a Christmas miracle. But then when he asked how I did it, I said it wasn't too hard. I just had to send a couple emails each day. He was curious what I'd said, and I handed him my phone. He started to get stressed and flipping back through other emails, which there were like 60 of. He told me I went way too far. He was expecting me to dispute through their billing department or something normal and reasonable like that, not internet stalk every single manager and board member and investor and harass them into dropping the bill. I was frustrated because I just saved us $5,000, actually made it possible for us to afford a nice Christmas and save some money, and he was mad at me because I'd been a bit of a hard ass. I was furious, and he was also mad at me, saying he authorized me to dispute a bill, not basically threaten and harass a whole damn hospital for weeks. AITA for how I got my boyfriend's medical bills dropped.
AITA for giving my ex-wife a large amount of money I won despite the anger of my GF. I recently won a fuck you amount of money. I won't say exactly how much, but it's in the millions. It makes me feel funny even typing. It's enough to change the life of myself and my family. My ex-wife is the mother of my 2 kids. She is an amazing woman and good to the bone. We divorced 6 years ago because I had an affair with my current partner. I was in a low place in my life and I fucked up. She was in incredible pain, but like a effing saint, she allowed me to still see our kids who mean the world to me. Allowed our divorce to be as pain-free as possible, despite the fact that I know she was hurting. She still is close with my parents. She is respectful to me, although she refuses to talk to my GF. She was actually the first person I phoned after my mom and pops, after I found out I won the lottery. She was pleased for me, joked that I could take the kids on a world-round trip, and that was that. Nothing else. As soon as I won, I knew I wanted to give her a significant amount. I still love her. She's the mother of my babies, and I feel like this is some small, tiny way I can show her that I'm not a complete fuck-up. She deserves to know that I care despite my mistakes. She also works a shitty job in the public library, which pays her peanuts. She would actually be able to pursue her hobbies this way. Give our kids a better life between us. I haven't discussed this with my ex yet, but I have with my parents, who strongly agree, and my lawyer, who was very surprised but on board. Long story short, when I told my GF, she was my livid, screaming that I'm disrespecting her, accusing me of still being in love with my ex-wife. I'm not in love with her. We've both grown apart. But of course I still love her for being an excellent co-parenting partner and mother to my kids. My GF is threatening to break up with me, and TBH, I'm feeling incredibly relieved over the threats. I don't plan on changing my plans, but
AITA for kicking out one of my bridesmaids for showing up in the wrong dress? My 23F wedding was back on Saturday, December 31st, and I'm still getting backlash from this. So I want to know if this was an AH move. In the country I live in, it's currently winter, and we get a fair amount of snow, so my wedding was a winter-themed wedding. The color theme was forest green and gold. My dress was obviously white, and I chose the color of my bridesmaids' dresses to be forest green as well. My MOH's dress was black, and everyone was to wear gold accessories. I have this friend, we'll call her Kat, that I asked to be one of my bridesmaids. When we went dress shopping and I told them the color theme I was going for, Kat immediately expressed that she thought forest green was a bad choice. She said that thinks it's not a flattering color, and thought I should choose something different and more girly. I said no, because my wedding was winter-themed, and I thought the color would go perfect with the theme. She suggested a pink, blue, even a red. I said no, but thanks for your opinion. She found out my MOH's dress was black and asked if she could wear black too. I said no, only my MOH is wearing black. I paid for all the dresses. Fast forward to wedding day. Everyone's getting their hair and makeup done, and Kat shows up 30 minutes late, holding a bag that looked like it had a dress inside. I asked her what this was for. She told me it was for later on at the reception, if she got uncomfortable and wanted to change after pictures. I was like, okay, cool. So fast forward, we're all dressed and walking down the stairs because the ceremony is beginning in 30 mins, and we were going to take some pictures before. Kat is the last person to come down, and she's wearing a black dress. At the time, I was preoccupied taking pictures with my parents, but my MOH came over to me and made me aware of the situation. I confronted Kat and asked her what was going on. She said she hates her bridesmaid dress, as the color is ugly and makes her look gross, so she's wearing black. I told her, please, go back and change. She refused and started walking away from me. I said, I'm going to ask her one more time, and if she doesn't oblige, I'm calling security and kicking her out. She began yelling at me to fuck off, so I called security and asked them to please escort her out. She started making a big scene, yelling how I'm such a bitch, that I can't force her to wear anything and that I'm a horrible, inconsiderate friend. The wedding went on, and it was truly amazing. Ever since the wedding, Kat has been blowing up my phone with texts saying some really nasty things and asking for the money back. She spent on the black dress, since it was a waste, and she didn't get to wear it. I had to block her number. Some of my other bridesmaids have been giving me shit, saying that it was a little harsh kicking her out and embarrassing her like that, and that maybe I should give her the money back. AITA for kicking her out?
AITA for saying I'll be driving myself and paying for my own room on the upcoming family vacation so I won't have to be a babysitter? Update. Well, I'm off work now, so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister got our parents involved, they looked at my post, and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here. But I told them that if they'd just listened to me to begin with, I'd have never needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They in turn went off on my sister, and to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been canceled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyway. But my parents are arguing with my sister is blaming me, and my nephews are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and basically implied I have no life, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. Smole. Update. I wasn't gonna update again. But here's a little more. Parents said that they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again, and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is basically saying nope to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. AITA for saying I'll be driving myself and paying for my own room on the upcoming family vacation so I won't have to be a babysitter. I-23 Mayalders was repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year, we took a family vacation in summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents, and they paid for my hotel room. Only, I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation. But instead, I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded I was there for free. And then we pretty much just did only one thing I wanted to do, which was tour an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year, my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year. But I refused. I said I'd be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the buts started. I stated the previously listed things as why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child like last year. My parents told my sister, and she called to blow up at me that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just go to an art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation, too. Now my sister is not speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. AITA for not giving in. I know they'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Edit. It's barely been an hour since I posted, but my sister is apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings, and she saw my post. Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset no one in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she went on a big rant about how it's so hard to be a parent to triplets, and the least I could do is help, because I'm young and single, and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. AITA for telling my girlfriend to shut the fuck up after she insulted my sister's thighs. I'm 30, and my 12-year-old sister is living with me right now, because mom and pops are vulnerable. So it made more sense for me to care for my sis for the time being. She is a really great kid, and TBH I feel in a lot of ways. Like she's my own kid, because my mom and dad don't speak English, so I kind of had to raise my sis in ways that they couldn't. Hard to explain, but I'm sure anyone with a secondary culture will get what I mean. My mom and dad are great parents, but having an English-speaking person to guide you through shit when you live in an English-speaking country is invaluable, emo, and my sister trusts me with stuff she won't necessarily trust my parents with. Anyway, my girlfriend was FaceTiming me, and my sister walked past in shorts and a t-shirt because it's hot. My sister GF waited till my sister had left the area, but not the room, and made a face and said, "Maybe feed her less OP, her thighs are kinda chunky." I saw red and told her to shut the F up, just came out my mouth, and immediately ended the call. My sister is a bit chubby, but FFs who says stuff like that about a 12-year-old girl. Literally, everybody I know has been texting me that I'm a POSE boyfriend, and that how can I disrespect my GF like that? I am expecting an apology from her, but to my shock, everybody is expecting me to apologize. So, AITA for switching to regular milk to prove my lactose-intolerant roommate keeps stealing from me? Me and 2 other guys share an apartment together and we split all the bills. The only thing we don't split costs on is groceries. Everyone's in charge of buying their own food, and we don't touch whatever doesn't belong to us in the fridge. We put our names on everything, so no one gets mixed up. This issue has been going on almost a year, and I'm sick of it. One of my roommates, R, keeps stealing my food. I get home from work, and containers with my leftovers are sometimes missing. They have my name written on it. Or, my stuff finishes too quick. My gallon of milk, for example. I buy almond milk because I like the taste, but it seems to finish after a week even though I've only drank once or twice. I confronted R about this lots of times, and that's caused a lot of arguments. He outright denies it and tells me I'm crazy even though it's so obvious. My other roommate and I carpool together because we both work the same early morning shifts around the same area, so I know it's not him. It's always after we get back home and R's already left for work that I notice my food's gone. My roommates also had a similar problem, but not as often as I do. I'm guessing cause R doesn't like what he buys. The funny thing is, R buys a lot for himself and is even more stingy about his food. He will literally point out what's his when he comes back from grocery shopping and tells us not to touch it. Last week, my milk was nearly empty again, and I got fed up. I went to the liquor store and bought regular dairy milk. I drank what was left of my almond milk and refilled the gallon with the one I bought. This was to prove R is the one stealing since he's lactose intolerant. The NXT day, Saturday, we get back from work and R is pissed. He yelled at me that he was stuck in the bathroom for 40 minutes with diarrhea because of my milk. He was using it to make a shake. I only responded with, "So then you're the one who's been stealing?" He freaking exploded. Yeah, he admitted he was sometimes drinking my milk and eating my food, but he was more mad that I switched milks than the fact that he was caught. I told him I wouldn't have done that if he'd just stopped taking my stuff from the fridge, or at least told the truth instead of trying to make it seem like I was making it up. My roommate backed me up and thought it was kind of funny he got payback for stealing from us. It's a little tense, RN, and my roommate told me R is trying to convince him to agree to kick me out. Little does he know we're both looking to move somewhere else together, 'cause we are sick of his shit. I told some buddies what happened, and a few think I was an asshole for that. I feel like I'm not in the wrong here. He was taking my food and not even owning up to it, and I wanted to prove it. Does that make me TA?
AITA for despising my mentally handicapped sister. I'm back with an update since my last post got a lot of attention. I've been staying with my grandpa since that post. This week has been a huge change, both good and bad. I told my grandpa why I broke down, and he was horrified. My family didn't know my parents were using me as a free caretaker for my sister. My grandpa told me some things that I don't feel comfortable repeating here, but in essence, my sister is supposed to be getting care from a professional, and that my parents were ignoring that. Along with this, I was not supposed to be caring for her at all with her mental state, as apparently she is a danger to herself and others. He was really mad and told me not to contact my parents without him. He said he would meet my parents beforehand and be there when I confronted them. The week continued with family checking in on me, sharing secrets my parents hid. This included the fact that my parents have been taking money from family to fund a caretaker that doesn't exist. This week has been rough. However, my extended family has shown me more love than I've felt in a while. My grandfather spent this last week making up for the time I've lost. He encouraged me to spend time with friends and do what I want. My aunts and uncles have been supporting me too. On Saturday night, I sat down with my parents. It went badly. They came clean about everything. They did not apologize. My parents insisted I owed my sister my time. My father even saying, "You were put here to be her caretaker." I won't lie, I wasn't composed. After everything I learned, I confronted them. They denied it or made excuses. In the end, we were in a worse place. Today is my last time talking to them for a while. After talking to my grandpa and uncle, I'm not going back. I'll pick up my stuff today and move in with my grandpa. I plan to leave the state for school, after high school. My aunt said the money she was sending my dad will now go to me. My parents called twice since Saturday, not to apologize, but to ask when I'd come home. I'm not going back. I feel uneasy, but I think it'll pass. My family's supporting me, and it feels great. But in the end, I lost my parents. Through all this, I learned something I wish I saw earlier. I don't hate my sister. I love her with all my heart. I should have never projected my emotions onto her. That was wrong, and I hope to make up for it someday. But for now, I need to leave. So here's my update. Thanks for the support on my original post. I appreciate everyone who commented or showed me support. Thanks you. We just got back from moving my stuff out of my parents' house. My grandpa and uncle helped move everything I wanted, and it's now at his house. I have my birth certificate, social security card, and other important documents. My parents were quiet the whole time. Shortly after I arrived, my dad left with my sister while my mom silently hovered. After a while, she broke down, telling me she loved me and would miss me. I hugged her, said goodbye, and that was it. Now, I wonder if she really meant it. After a week of silence, she waited until the end. I hope she meant it. For now, I need to look ahead. Maybe one day me and my parents can reconnect. I hope so. AITA for despising my mentally handicapped sister. The title makes me sound horrible, but hear me out. My sister is severely autistic. She requires attention almost 24/7 and cannot be left alone. She is nonverbal and cannot take care of herself at all. Despite the fact that she is only 12, she is extremely destructive and violent and destroys anything she gets her hands on. I hate her. That should be wrong to say, but it doesn't feel like it. I was only 6 years old when she was born, and since then, I've never solely had my parents' attention. Even since I can remember, the world has revolved around her. I was moved out of my room into the basement at 7 because she needed to be in the room next to my parents. All of my toys as a child were destroyed by her, and my parents simply ignored me when I complained. Even when I was 14 and she destroyed a Mac, my school gave me I was in the wrong. Along with this, I am expected to take care of her and drop everything I do for her. I can never make plans with friends because my parents expect me to be there if they need me to take care of her. Even when I do somehow get time to myself, I am required to leave if they need me. If I do not, then I am punished. The recent example of this is when I went to see the new Spider-Man movie and was grounded because I turned my phone off in the theater. It seems as if I am nothing more than a slave to them, and anything involving her simply overshadows me. This last week, I was chosen to give a speech at a school event. I was so excited and my parents promised to be there, but they never showed and claimed it was because of my sister. Anytime anything like this happens for me, they are too busy with her. I've held this in for so long, and it finally spilled out today. While talking about colleges with my father, he joked that I should get a degree that pays well, so when they're gone, I can take care of my sister. I don't know why, but this caused me to break down. I cried and screamed about how it's always about her. I'm nothing more than a caretaker to them, that they always make it about her, and that I'm expected to be her slave for the rest of my life. I've locked myself in my room since then, and my parents have not come to check on me. Am I the asshole here? Edit, update, kinda, wow. Thank you for all the support and love that you guys have given me. I never expected this post to reach the popularity it did. Thank you all. After thinking about it for these past hours, you are right that I don't despise my sister. It's not her fault that she was born the way she is. My parents came to talk to me a while after my breakdown, but I was unable to bring myself to talk to them and only cried and asked them to leave. They have made arrangements with my grandfather for me to stay with him for the time being, and I'm getting ready to go to his house. My parents want to talk to me, but we have decided it's best I leave for now to have some space and time to collect myself. We will be sitting down and talking later this week about this issue. Thank you all again for the love and support through this 3.
AITA for sleeping naked on top of the covers to teach my flatmate GF a lesson. New to Reddit, please bear with. So I, 21 guy, live with my childhood best friend, 22, also a guy, and have done for 2 years now. Up until last week, things were perfect between us. However, he recently got a new girlfriend, 23 lady, and she honestly seems absolutely great except for one thing. She seemingly has a complete aversion to knocking. She and I have quite a lot in common, and I actually like spending time with her. However, it bugs the hell out of me when she just barges into my room without knocking first. Now, she's never walked in on me doing anything untoward. I'm usually just chilling on my bed or studying at my desk. However, on at least 7 separate occasions now, she's done it first thing in the morning to ask if I want coffee. I sleep naked. Every time prior to the last one, I've been under the covers, and she hasn't seen anything. I always point out that she could have, and she just giggles and says, but I didn't. When she stayed over last week, in order to make my point, I intentionally slept on top of the covers. Sure enough, she barges in at 7 a.m., begins to ask if I want coffee, and sees my you-know-what. She immediately backed out of the room and didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. My mate later pulled me aside and said I was bang out of order, accused me of deliberately exposing myself, and pointed out that I'd threatened to do it before. I literally just said, okay, but what if I had no covers and you saw everything before? They're now framing this to others, that I'm some sick creep who intentionally got naked and lay in wait of her, because that's how I get my rocks off. And I'm kinda seeing how it came off that way. AITA for doing this?
AITA, telling my parents to pay me back my college tuition if they want a relationship. I was raised by parents who believed, religiously and just culturally, in rigid gender roles. Dad should work, mom should stay home with the kids. I'm the only girl and have 3 brothers. Because of their expectation I'd stay home with kids, they never valued my education, educational achievements, or emphasized things beyond domestic skills. I'm the second youngest. By the time I was in high school, my 2 older brothers had gone to the college of their choice, with my parents fully covering tuition, books, an off-campus apartment, and other living expenses. They eventually did the same for my younger brother. I was told I wasn't allowed to apply for college. I did so in secret and got accepted with a partial scholarship. I didn't tell them I was moving out until a week before I left, with essentially nothing but what a few friends gave to me that their parents bought them for college. I took engineering and had to work, take on debt and struggle. My parents and I have barely spoken for years. I'm married now and expecting our first child, and they asked to meet up. We met at a park, and they said they were sorry if they caused me pain, but would like a relationship now. I asked them specifically what they were sorry for. They wouldn't elaborate and just said they wanted to move forward. I said that wasn't sufficient. In the end, I said they could prove they were sorry by forwarding me the $100K my degree and college expenses were, just like they did for my brothers. My mom burst into tears. My dad said I wasn't being serious, and I just left. Since then, I've been getting calls from my brothers telling me I'm being immature and hurtful. I don't think so at all.
AITA for telling my son he deserved his GF breaking up with him? So my son had a long-distance GF recently for about 2 years. She was great, a really nice girl, and we all loved her, welcomed her with open arms. She was flying here constantly to visit him, like a weekend a month, and he didn't lift a finger to go visit her. I tried talking to him about it several times and told him he should really start looking into flying over to her instead of expecting her to do all the traveling. He said no, and my wife probably had something to do with it, as she constantly told him she was afraid of him flying. I spoke to them both and said this girl is great for him. She was willing to move over to our country too, but said there was one condition, and that was he'd have to fly over to her country too. Which is fair enough. He said no. He didn't want to fly or travel anywhere. My son was becoming lazier and lazier, eventually telling his GF and us that he was perfectly fine never traveling anywhere, including holidays, etc. Last week, he told us she's dumped him. I went on her FB page, as we're all still friends. She wrote us an apology letter about how she's upset it didn't work out, but these things happen, so we're on good terms. And looks like she's with a new guy already. Me and my wife have no doubt she was seeing him while still in a relationship with my son. I confessed to them both that I actually agree with her decision, and he should have expected it. He did not treat her properly, and I hope he learns lessons for the next one, because he needs to make more of an effort. I said he deserves it for his lack of effort in the relationship, and for essentially just allowing this girl to spend all her money and time coming here all the time. Wife and son are very upset that I said this. Very, very upset, and my wife says I am being horrible. AITA, I stand by what I said. AITA for throwing them out of a house that we own. Son and future in-laws decide to exclude his family from wedding. They thought son owned the house, not us. My wife and I bought a 4-bedroom house in PA that my son lives in. Our son went to college in PA and wanted to stay in the area. So we bought the house as a second home. We live in NJ and commute into Manhattan for work. We figured that he would have a place to live, and we could visit every so often and spend some quality time together. We pay the taxes and services, maintenance on the house. Our son pays for his groceries and the house utilities. All was going well for a few years. Our son meets a girl, and they get serious. We met her, and she seems nice enough. They announce their engagement, and she moves into the house with our son. Now for the problem, the wedding. We hold a little get-to-know-you BBQ at the PA house. My son and daughter are there, as are our son's fiancée and her parents and sisters. We all seem to be getting along well. My wife, daughter, and the fiancée go into the house along with her mother and sisters and my son. A few minutes later, my wife and daughter come out and are really upset. They come over and tell me we're leaving and driving back to NJ. I try to find out what happened. Once we get back to NJ and they calm down, they tell me that our son and his fiancée, along with her family, don't want us at the wedding. According to what I was told, we're not their kind of people. I was livid. I called my son and asked him WTH this was about. He tells me that her family feel that we are not good enough and will embarrass them at a family wedding and that we are all uninvited from the wedding. I let a week go by to calm myself down and drive back to the PA house. The new future in-laws are in the house, along with the fiancé. It appears that they all moved into the house. They ask me why I'm there. I tell them that since we aren't invited to the wedding, I was coming over to talk to my son. They tell me to leave their house. I lost it, and told them that they had 30 days to get out. Tell my son I'm selling the house and he could find somewhere else to live with all of you. I go to a realtor in town and list the house for sale. They call my son at work and tell him what I said. Apparently, they thought that he owned the house. He calls me and asks why I'm selling his house. I tell him I paid for it along with the taxes on it, and it is mine. He was living there rent-free, but since he doesn't want us in his new life, he has to get out. I tell him the same as I told his future in-laws they have 30 days to get out, then I'll get a lawyer and get them evicted. Am I the AH for taking a hard stance on this? He is my son, but they in-laws seem to take over and we no longer count. AITA for not telling my dad he isn't getting the inheritance he's expecting. My mother died when I was 16. My dad married another woman 2 years later. My grandparents, my dad's parents, hate my stepmother. I really don't like her either. Even after my half-siblings were born, my grandparents never warmed up to her. My grandparents are quite wealthy. My father has been banking on this inheritance for a while. He has even been not paying into his retirement because he's so sure that he will inherit the millions. I just found out on Saturday that I'm getting the majority of my grandparents' estate. My father is getting a token amount of $5,000, so he can't dispute it. My grandparents made me promise not to give out any money after, and I intend to keep my word. But I do feel really guilty that my father just spends his money as it's coming in because he's relying on money he won't get. I also found out my dad is in a lot of debt. AITA for not telling him?
AITA for telling my brother he got exactly what he deserved when he pushed his girlfriend away for being a gold digger? My brother is a very hardworking man, and at 27 he is now very wealthy and doing well for himself. He's been with this girl for 6 months, and throughout the time we have gotten close because we both like hair, makeup, and shopping. I never knew there was anything wrong with their relationship, except when she texted me last week, saying she would love to hang out, but thinks it'll be inappropriate because her and my brother broke up. I asked her why, and she said she was sick and tired of auditioning to prove she was with him for the right reasons. She went on to say that my brother is paranoid, she's after his money, so he would test her like one, leaving out his bank statements on their bed and getting upset when she picked it up too. Going out to eat at high-end restaurants he requested, and leaving his wallet on home at purpose to make her pay the bill and prove she's not going out with him for money. Never buying her gifts and questioning her when she asks why he doesn't. I was shocked, so I had to hear my brother's perspective. We spoke and he told me everything she said was true and that there's nothing wrong with making sure his girlfriend is with him for the right reasons. He said he left his bank statements on the bed and was peeking through the door to see if she would be curious, and when he saw her pick up the papers, he knew in his gut she was using him for his money. So he set up the restaurant idea to see if she would get upset at paying a $500 bill, which she was. I asked him if he thinks her being an elementary school teacher could have contributed to her being upset at a $500 bill at a restaurant he wanted to go to, and he said no. He said the straw that broke was when she asked him why he hasn't bought her a single gift since they've started dating, when she bought him a gaming console and new rims for his car, and he knew she was just discreetly asking him to buy her an expensive gift. He confronted her and said he thinks she's with him for his money, so she said let me do us both a favor and dumped him and blocked him. He's upset about the gold-digging bitch. And when I laughed, he called me an asshole. He said I would never understand what it's like being a rich man and being used, and I get that concern. But I told him if he thinks any woman will be okay with his tests and auditions, he's delusional as hell. If he doesn't want to be used for his money, he should start dating people as wealthy as him, or leave lower-income people alone if he's not going to be genuine in his relationships unless they pass his test.
AITA for asking mom's boyfriend to stop trying to parent me. Edit. The boyfriend doesn't live with us and doesn't pay rent or bills. Him and his daughters spend time here and pay only for their food. Something I do as well. My dad died suddenly about a year ago, and my mom found this really nice guy that she started seeing. I'm 23M and going into my final year of college. My mom's boyfriend has two daughters, ages 15 and 13. My mom has stepped in to be a mother figure to them, and the boyfriend has stepped into my extended family, becoming everyone's favorite uncle. And while I'm glad everyone else is comfortable, I'm not. He isn't a bad guy. I'm just still grieving my father, and it feels like he's trying to replace him. He tries to set rules for me, things like chores and curfew, that my dad specifically didn't because he thought they were ridiculous for an adult. Boyfriend thinks it's only fair because I have siblings now. I think it's ridiculous to have the same rules apply because of our age differences. He's trying to get me to share my stuff with his kids. They aren't lacking for anything, but he thinks it's only fair because I'm family. I live in the basement of my mom's house. I have since I was 15. When you come in the front door, there's a door to the basement and the stairs to go into the house, so it's pretty separate. So last night, I was dating for some friends and got home at 2 a.m. I had nothing to do until 3 p.m. today, since classes aren't until next week and my new job starts in 2 weeks. So this has never been a big deal with my parents. I shot my mom a text and went to bed. Tonight though, man, boyfriend flipped. I got a lecture and sent to my room and possible loss of car privileges. I snapped and laid it out for him. I told him I'm leaving the city after I graduate. I told him I'm glad my mom found a new partner, but that I am not and will not be looking for a new father figure, and he needs to respect that. I told him our relationship won't be father-son for some time, and that he needs to respect me as an adult, or that I won't want to have a relationship with him. He told my family, and they think I'm the asshole. AITA?
AITA for giving my mail a fake copy of my house key and exposing her on Christmas dinner. I want to preface this by saying that I, F34, married my husband, M37, a year ago. His mom is Snoopy and annoying F. She can't help it, that is just how she is, as my dear-in-laws say. My husband and I purchased a new house recently. My MIL kept pushing to get an emergency key. She promised that she only use it in an emergency, but giving the fact that she had an emergency key to our old apartment and walked in on us being intimate twice. But my husband didn't think it was big deal. I just couldn't trust her, so I just sent her a fake key after she kept pushing, and she had a smug on her face after I hand-delivered it to her. Days gone by, and on Christmas dinner, Mill angrily called me out on the fact I gave her a fake copy of the house key. She shamed me for doing this in front of everyone, but in my defensive, I asked her how she found out, and she said days ago when she came over at 4 while my husband and were out. I reminded her, "Didn't you promise you wouldn't use it unless there's an emergency? So, you tried to get in when there was no emergency, and you broke the promise you made to us." She looked red in the face, and the other family started staring, and some even laughed at her for the face she made. She suddenly got up from her seat and rushed into the kitchen where she had a huge meltdown so loud the next-door neighbors must have heard. Literally, I've never heard a 60-plus-year-old woman throw a tantrum like that. Needless to say, dinner went awkward and my husband and his sister were giving me looks. My husband went off on me in the car and said I lied and manipulated and humiliated and exposed his mom and said he wouldn't have let me get away with it had he known. We had an argument and he is demanding I apologize to his mom for my childish behavior and for ruining Christmas dinner for the whole family. AITA? AITA. So this went off unexpectedly, and I thought I'd show my husband some pretty helpful comments I found here minutes ago, but he got mad at me when he saw it and said I was nuts to talk about his family online. He demanded my phone so he could delete it, but I refused, and I went upstairs and into the bedroom. I never seen him so agitated, and I didn't think he'd react like that, honestly. But thank you guys for your support. It really means so much. I'll update if I can. Thanks again.
AITA for canceling the entire vacation when I found out that my stepdaughters deliberately hid my daughter's passport to get her to stay home. I've been married to my wife Beth for 5 years. I have a bio daughter named Jessica. She's 18. And I also have 2 stepdaughters named Monica and Leah. They're 25 and 28. Both are single moms and live with us currently. There's been issues about my stepdaughters asking my daughter to babysit the kids. Jessica didn't have a problem with it at first, since this is what she does to earn money, but since her stepsisters don't pay her much, she'd just refuse to babysit. We worked this out by having my wife take care of paying for the babysitting. I planned a family vacation for 3 days and everyone wanted to go. However, both Monica and Leah suggested that Jessica stay home and watch the kids since Beth doesn't want her grandkids to come. They said it's because the kids are used to Jessica and hiring another babysitter would cause issues, and also said that Jessica isn't too fond of our destination, but it was obvious that Jessica wanted to go. They insisted, and Beth offered to pay her double, and there was just a lot of back and forth on this till I demanded they stop bringing it up. We were supposed to go last week, but when everybody had bagged their bags and was time to go, Jessica found out that she didn't have her passport on her. We searched her bag, then went home and searched there. Beth and my stepdaughters kept insisting that we go back to the airport, or else we'd miss our flight. They insisted that Jessica stay at home with the kids. They even told the new babysitter to go home because she was no longer needed. I refused to go and kept searching for the passport till Monica admitted that she helped Leah hide Jessica's passport to get her to stay home with the kids. I was livid. I tried to get her to tell me where it was, but she said Leah had it. Leah denied, so I threatened to cancel the vacation. That's when they gave it back. I decided to actually cancel the vacation and blew up at both of them and berated them. They stayed upstairs for a while, and Beth refused to speak to me and said that I punished my stepdaughters for worrying about their kids and wanting them to stay with someone they know. I got told I overreacted and ruined the trip for everybody, editing to mention that kicking my stepdaughters out isn't possible since my wife co-owns the house that we currently live in. AITA for canceling Mother's Day celebration that I arranged for my wife after hearing what she told my son. I am 37, have a 13-YO son. I was a widower when I met my now wife. She has a 16-YO daughter from another relationship. The family is often on pretty good terms. My son is the quiet one in the house. He keeps to himself a lot, but not to the point of being concerning. My wife and stepdaughter are the complete opposite. They both encourage him to be outgoing and share activities and join gatherings with extended family. My son complained about having to be forced out of his comfort zone and having his need for space invalidated. I spoke to both my wife and stepdaughter and asked them to give him space and freedom to spend his time however he wanted. They apologized and promised to let him be. As Mother's Day was approaching, I wanted to throw my wife a surprise Mother's Day celebration. It was no longer a surprise because my stepdaughter gave her the heads so she could prepare. Yesterday, I got off work earlier than usual to get final arrangements done. We planned to celebrate at the restaurant and invited her family there. I had the key, and while I was entering the house through the front door, I overheard my wife and stepdaughter talking to my son. My wife was asking my son if he could convince me to let him stay home and not go with them to the restaurant to celebrate. I paused and decided to keep listening. My son said why, and she told him that his introverted and socially inept attitude will make her family uncomfortable and will ruin the mood. He promised her that he'd be well-behaved and would try to interact and socialize with everyone, but she said that she wasn't buying it. He kept reassuring her, but she snapped and told him that technically she's not his mom, so she didn't get why he wanted to celebrate Mother's Day with her so badly. My stepdaughter threw some "I don't remember" backhanded comment, and then both of them were shocked to see me standing there. Both were staring without saying anything. I told my son and his stepsister to go to their rooms, then told my wife that the celebration was off, canceled. She tried to argue, asking why repeatedly, and I told her why. She tried to explain that she didn't mean it like that, and that I only heard part of the conversation, but not all of it. I told her I was done arguing, and the decision was already made. She yelled, asking what she was going to tell her family, and said that I was making tremendous mistake towards her. I ignored her while she kept throwing tantrum after a tantrum. Early this morning, she took my stepdaughter and went to stay with her folks. Not a single call or text from her so far. Situation is full of tension. I'm upset still, but more hurt, to be honest. I mean, yes, I did say I was going to have this celebration, but I thought that what she said to my son was too harsh to ignore.
AITA, for telling a social worker the real reason my sister wants a foster kid? So this is a throwaway account. While my sister doesn't use Reddit, we have mutual friends who do. I'm a 28F and I have a sister, 36F. For the sake of story, I'll just call Jane. Jane is married to Bob, and they have 2 kids, boy and a girl. My niece and nephew are wonderful kids and no trouble at all. They fight as siblings do, but nothing big. I love them. Now, for about 2 years, I did live with my sister. It was a miserable time that really affected our relationship. She saw me as free labor, money, and babysitting. Even when I managed to get a small part-time job, she demanded I hand over nearly half my pay, or get out. It was hell as she took completely advantage of me. I moved out as soon as I could, and we have little contact outside of family gatherings. Now, after I moved out, she started complaining how she has no help with the kids and never gets a break. I babysit sometimes, but I have made it clear, just because I am off work doesn't mean I want an 8-hour day with my niece and nephew. Anyway, she started talking about how she wanted to foster a kid. Not a kid, but a teenager. I pressed her for more info on this. She wants to adopt a teenager, so she has a live-in babysitter for her kids. This is her logic. I want a kid around 16 or 17. You know, someone who may have been in the system for a while. They can share a room with your nephew. She only has a 3-bedroom house. Or sleep in the garage. They can help me with housework, chores, cook, and help me with my business. She bakes and sells cookies. Also, babysit the kids so me and Bob can go out sometimes or have some alone time. They'll be so grateful for a home and won't complain. I won't have to pay them at all. And then when they turn 18, I can just sign up for another foster kid. A teenager will be so much easier than a little kid. They will be grateful just to have a roof, food, siblings, if they have been separated from their real ones, and clothes. I was horrified, told her it was a horrible idea. She didn't listen to me. She went on with it anyway. About a month ago, a social worker showed up at my apartment to ask me some questions about my sister. She had put me down as a character witness or something like that. I immediately told the social worker why my sister really wanted to foster a kid and how she treated me when I lived with her. The lady thanked me. My sister called crying, saying that she wouldn't be considered for any adoptions or fosters. The social worker told her that they felt her home and her weren't a good fit. She asked if I said anything, and I told the truth. She went off on me, hung up, and we haven't spoken since. She has sent some angry texts. A couple family members are on her side. They think foster kids are fucking dogs or something, and would be so happy just to have a roof and would gladly do all the housework. So AITA here? Remember, no child is in control of the circumstances that may have landed them in the foster care system. They are children and still human. They deserve a loving home and care. Do right by a foster kid. And thank you again.
AITA for getting my daughter a hotel room entirely for herself after her stepsisters made her sleep on the floor. My dad passed away 2 weeks ago. Me, my wife Candace, and my daughter, 16, Shiloh, and her stepsisters, 19 and 17, flew to my hometown to attend the funeral. After that, we got 2 hotel rooms, one for me and Candace, one for the girls. While I was in the room, I got a call from Shiloh at 11 p.m., crying, and sounded like she was arguing with her stepsisters. I asked what the matter was, and she told me that her stepsisters insisted that she sleep on the floor. There were one large bed in the room, and there was enough space for all 3 girls to sleep on. I asked why, and she said she didn't know. I went to see what the issue was and talked with my stepdaughters about it. They kept talking, but didn't really explain why they told her to sleep on the floor. They just shrugged and said, "It's better this way, we're more comfortable this way." I told Shiloh to grab her things, and when one of my stepdaughters asked where we were going, I told her I was booking her a hotel room. Both looked upset but didn't say anything, but they must have called their mom because she was awake when I got back and started arguing with me about giving Shiloh an entire hotel room for herself. I explained why I did it, but she said I wasted money and that Shiloh could have sucked it up for one night on the floor. I called her unreasonable for saying this, but she told me I showed the girls that I'm playing favorites and made my stepdaughter share a room while I gave my daughter an entire room for herself. We went home, and Candace is still bringing it up, saying I mishandled this. She even pointed out how my stepdaughters are upset since they're not speaking to me. ETA. It was Candace who got a room for the 3 girls as to not stir any drama and save money. She was in charge of hotel reservations since I was emotionally distressed. Also, Candace did not expect Shiloh to sleep on the floor. She wanted all 3 girls to share the bed. ETA too. For those that are calling me an A for giving my daughter her name, her mom did that, and she's deceased, so please let's not focus on that. And also, I've known my stepdaughters since they were little. We're pretty much family, and Candace is a som, but I give her full access to my money since this stuff was already discussed beforehand. Pretty much everything was.
As tough for calling my mom when my husband refused to listen to me, just moved into my first home, 4 months pregnant. Pregnancy's been tough with terrible morning sickness. I passed out and hit my head, hospitalized for a week. My husband let his bro's family move into 2 of our 3 bedrooms. Evicted for unknown reasons. My office was a total disaster. The house was a wreck. Trash, dirty clothes, diapers everywhere. I broke down in tears. My husband seemed different. My husband told me it wasn't that bad. I told him to clean the house before I wake up. Totally exhausted, I slept for 4 hours. I woke up for water. Every glass was scattered. They didn't clean anything. I started washing the dirty dishes. The next morning, I struggled to work with their kids crying nonstop. They banged on walls. Their mom ignored them. When my husband came back, he was upset I didn't help his bro's wife feel welcomed. He wanted me to help with the kids. He complained about the mess while at work, the same mess he didn't clean. This sparked a fight. I'm too sick for company. They need to go. He insisted their family, refusing to kick them out. I cried again. Frustrated and exhausted, I broke. I called my mom, asking to stay with her. I told her everything with my husband there. He was shocked and angry. My mom came with my 3 brothers. Mom angrily told my husband, "Since his family can stay, so can we." Mom took charge. I was sent to bed. My brothers started cleaning, complaining about my BL's family. They called my husband a horrible husband for this. Got a text from my MEL calling me an A for not helping and making my BL uncomfortable. Edit. When my MEL arrived, she was furious, heard shouting but couldn't make it out. Inside, she was shocked. The house was a mess. My Bill lied about what happened. Mill joined Mom in bossing. The house got deep cleaned. Now Bill and the kids are at Mill's. She didn't know about the eviction. In-laws helped them financially months ago. Mill was unhappy about it. Esil stayed in her room. She screamed until her family picked her up. Last bit. I talked to my husband. He seemed remorseful. I asked for space. He's at a hotel. He wants to talk tonight. Parents are here. Both moms thought I needed company while sick. They set up a meal plan. They'll take turns for dinner. It was Mill's idea. Thanks for the advice. Appreciate it. Summary of my talk with husband. Lasted 4 hours. It was a hard talk. He feels remorse. BL was meant to stay a few nights. He thought they'd be gone before I got home. He admitted to being tired and drained. When I first passed out, he left to help a friend. He returned to find me. He didn't know how long I was hurt. He was scared I might have died. He's had nightmares since, adding to his family drama. He confessed to taking his frustrations out on me, when it isn't my fault. He pleaded for another chance. Next steps. We're still separated. He plans to stay at my brother's casita. We'll attend marriage and individual counseling. He asked to join for nurse visits and doctor appointments. I agreed. Update. Bill's wife confessed to an affair. She said she married too soon and wants to escape motherhood. I'm unsure about him and the kids. I'm shocked by her feelings.
AITA, for suing my parents for my college money. My great-aunt set up savings accounts for all of her female relatives. In our culture, education for women is not really valued, and she thought that was bullshit. She lived with her father in London where she was educated. She went on to attend university and became a doctor. She married a British man. They moved to America and had a great life. She funded the education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl relative she could. My parents managed to access the accounts that were set up for my sister and I. They used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't care because she got married 2 years out of high school and had no intention of going to college. When I graduated, I went to the bank to get money for school, and it was almost all gone. There was like $13,000 left. I asked my parents about it, and they said they had needed the money. I finally found out where the money went. I got furious. I got student loans and moved out. I am a great source of shame to them, and I don't give 2 fucks. I am currently suing them for the money that was left for me. My entire family is against me. They all think I am a complete asshole for airing private family business in public, and that I am putting money ahead of family. My friends are all on my side, but they are all Americans, and don't really get my culture. Neither do I, to be honest. My brother called me up and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I agreed, as long as we had a legally binding contract. He said I was being an asshole for not trusting him. I said he should not have accepted my money for his wedding. It is causing all kinds of embarrassment in our community. I am somewhat ashamed to be doing this, but I don't want to have this debt I should not have.
AITA. If I stop paying my daughter's tuition over a disgusting comment she made towards my new girlfriend. My 56-mint wife died at the young age of 51 from a car accident. I was in deep mourning for about a year after her death. I met my new GF, C, 43F, around January. C was the one who made me laugh for the first time after my wife died. She's smart as hell, 3 Ivy League degrees. Has a dark sense of humor that I love. A terrific cook, and overall an amazing woman who I can imagine spending the rest of my life with. She is also on the heavier side, a fact that becomes relevant later. I have 2 children, E, 25N, and A, 19F. They were well aware that I had gotten a new GF before I first introduced them to C this summer. She got along immediately with E, but A was very, very standoffish. After that initial meeting, I asked A if there was something wrong, but she denied it. C made a few more attempts to get to know A, but they were all rudely rejected. E and A both came home for Thanksgiving dinner. I asked A to please be polite during the meal, since she's always been rude in her interactions with C, even though C has been nothing but gracious in return. The dinner was going as well as it could have for the first 10 minutes, although I noticed A glaring at C the entire time. When C went to grab her 3rd helping of mashed potatoes, A said, "Don't you think you've eaten enough, you fat pig?" C started sobbing immediately and ran off into the bedroom. I felt my face turn red and told A to get out. About half an hour after A left, I texted her stating that I would no longer pay her tuition unless 1. She apologized to C and 2. C accepts her apology. They must have assumed that I was bluffing because she instead doubled down on her behavior during Thanksgiving dinner. I then logged into her university's tuition payment website, canceled next semester's tuition, and sent A the screenshots. She called me crying and begging me to reconsider, but I told her my mind was made up.